Hello, women of the Channel Leadership Network. I'm Jackie Rives, your community leader, and welcome to another Woman of the Week. This week, I'm so excited to introduce you to Missy Clayton, Vice President of Sales Nationals Division at TD Synnex. Welcome, Missy. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jackie. I'm excited.
Yes, me too. I'm excited to get to know you. Well, let's start off easy with where do you live and where did you grow up, if it's different?
Awesome. Yeah. So I live in a small town. Well, it's smaller. It's larger than the town that I grew up. So I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina, which is about 30 miles from our Greenville, South Carolina office. So TD Synnex is headquartered in Greenville, South Carolina. And I've pretty much been here all my life, but my parents, I grew up in a very small town by the name of Campobello, South Carolina, literally a caution light. And that is it. A caution light and a post office.
Hey, I have a post office. I love it.
Yeah.
Totally loving your view too. I mean, it's real. It's real. And I love it.
It's real. I get that a lot. It is.
Okay. How about sharing a little known fact about you?
Okay. So a little known fact about me. I've been in the industry for almost 23 years, but many do not know that all 22 plus almost 23 of those years have been at TD Synnex. So I literally started, it was Synnex prior to the Synnex Tech Data merger. I started right out of college. I walked and did the graduation ceremony, and a week later I started with TD Synnex. So started my career in entry-level sales, cold calling, but as long as I've been in the industry, it's always fun to see someone's face when you're like, oh yeah, I've been, because it's really kind of unheard of these days that someone would be with a company for that many years. So.
It says a lot about TD Synnex and you. So that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. How about, okay, so you kind of started talking about your career path. Is there anything else you want to add to that as you grew through the ranks, reaching your position today?
Yeah. So it was fun, it started out, Synnex was a private company, again, 22 plus years ago. And I started in entry-level sales with a very small territory, cold calling, developing new accounts. And, over the years, your territory, you hope your territory grows and expands, right? And so through revenue and profit and projects and getting involved in large scale projects and deployments and RFPs, your industry relationships, my role just continued to expand in the sales space. I've always been a goal-driven person, but I think what spurred me on and kept going in sales was my intention and desire for sales to be a career destination. And most of my tenure at TD Synnex has been working with international partners as well. So I think from the very beginning, my intentions were always clear. This is where I wanted to be. This was home. I was very involved and just stay focused on the success of the company and the people. I want to leave, I think I reached this position because of the desire for other people to enjoy it as much as I have.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. I would say, yes, you are rare. And I even commend that, graduating from college, you knew exactly what you wanted, set your sights, and you just followed that career progression. So that's awesome. What made you want to be in a leadership position?
So that's interesting. I think about this a lot. I attended the Women of the Channel event. That was my first time attending the event. It was amazing, by the way. And I thought about this question a lot as I was listening to the speakers. And for me, leadership is really in my DNA. it's always just been a natural thing for me, whether it was in my friend group growing up or in school. It's just a natural thing for me in many capacities. Also, both of my parents were leaders in their corporate roles. I grew up with two working parents, right? And not only were they leaders in their corporate jobs, but they were leaders in our church. And I think back, you always think about the leaders that had an impact in you and what's influenced you. And for me, it was them, the admiration that I had for them, the way that I would watch them impact others, and the lifelong relationships that they cultivated within their companies and industry. My mom and I were just talking this weekend, how she's kept in touch with one of the very first leaders in her life, and so for me, it's an investment, right? You're investing not only in yourself, you're investing in the company, and you're investing in other people. So I wanted to do the same thing. I'm usually the first to raise my hand for something, which is good and bad. But just to take the initiative, and the desire to be a part of something, is just really important to me. So
I love that you shared, your admiration of your parents. Like that's pretty awesome. Sounds like you had some really great role models that impacted, you and the way you think and feel about that. So that's awesome. I love that.
absolutely.
What are some experiences or maybe some transformational moments in your life?
Yeah, there's so transformational moments. There's been many. Probably for me most recently, because it's impacting me right now as well, is the TD Synnex merger. I was selected to serve on the sales IMO work stream for the merger. And I remembered getting the call. It was not something that I volunteered for. And, I knew it was going to be a big thing. I knew they were going to need a lot of people, to get through this, but it was something that I probably doubted myself, or was it something that I necessarily wanted to take on? But when I got the call, I remember, it seemed like the unthinkable. It's like hard to grasp. How do you bring two tremendous, reputable distributors of mass scale together? It just seemed like, something that was going to be really difficult to do. And then how do you lead through those murky waters and the constant change? But it was something that I definitely wanted to be a part of. It's that natural leadership. You have those doubts, but at the same time, you're like, no, I want to be a part of this. It could be a great thing for our two companies. And, it definitely has had its challenges. But I think the transformational part for me is, even as an individual contributor in a company, I think we always in the back of our minds think that we know better. Why didn't somebody do it this way? Or why did somebody not do it that way? Or maybe we think we know what goes behind the scenes. And it was a very humbling experience. There was a lot more to, this process than I could have imagined. And so I think it was transformational in my leadership now as well, because it allowed me to have so much more respect for the leaders that have gone before me. And I can pass that transparency on to the future leaders to come. It's like, sometimes we think we know, leadership obviously comes with its challenges, but there's a lot of difficult and hard decisions that are made behind the scenes, and things that, we all take very personal, very difficult points of our careers. And I don't think I appreciated those leaders enough. But looking back, it's clear to me now, that we need to, have different perspectives on things. It's not always, things are not always as they seem.
Sure. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's a great lesson, honestly. Just things aren't as simple as they seem. And then, sometimes when we think, okay, well, why didn't they do it this way? Maybe they already considered that and there was reasons why that wouldn't work.
Yeah,
So
it's
what an
you have to
experience.
pause and not
Yeah.
assume. It's so much that goes into being a leader. And when you're just starting out in your leadership roles in your career, you're thinking, oh, it's just managing people, and you're obviously you're wanting to spend time coaching and mentoring, but for me this past year, it was a sacrifice, right? It was a sacrifice of my time. It was forcing me to change as a leader, to adapt to new ways of thinking. And it was transformational in that, I have so much more respect for the people in the process. And leadership is not for the faint of heart. It really, isn't, but it is so rewarding at the end.
Yeah.
And we've brought companies together successfully. I mean, yeah, it comes with its challenges, but it is very rewarding.
I love that you shared that. That's great. All of this, great intel, great advice. Just, good reminder that we need to kind of take a beat, listen, and process before we jump to our own assumptions and conclusions. Nice. Okay. What is something that you maybe learned now that you wish that you knew early in your career, aside from what we just talked about, which was a big one?
That was a loaded answer to your question. I think for me, it's being okay with taking risk. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily like a risk adverse person, but I probably do tend to play things safe. And it was, it's always a fear of failing, right? I think as a leader, and even before, honestly, when you enter your career, you're a leader from day one if you choose to be, right? And so I think we all have a fear of failing. You want to perform well and you don't want to do anything wrong, but that's just not, it's just not feasible, right? You're going to fail and things are going to happen, and that's okay. Taking those risks and failing is what propels us for the future and sets us up for the future. And that's how we get better and we learn to adapt. But yeah, for me, it's flexing that risk muscle a bit more. That was something that was frequently on my annual reviews in leadership. It's like you have all of these great qualities, but you're scared to take a risk. And, you don't have to ask for permission for everything. A lot of times, people they want you to take that initiative and drive, the goal forward. So for me, my advice and something I guess that I've learned is just to trust your knowledge and experience and don't be afraid to take the risk.
Yeah, I love it. That's great, great advice. I am going to squeeze in one more question. We have like a minute or two, just because I feel like you probably have some great advice, and that would be for some ways that women can do better to advance their careers.
Yeah, this was one that I'm super in tune to for myself. So I never want to speak for others, but in my own personal experience and conversations with women in my network, I feel like a common theme is speaking up, whether that is for support, for guidance, asking for promotion, asking for increased pay, for whatever reason. And I'm speaking for me, and again, from others that I've shared, it's an uncomfortable conversation for us, I feel like. And, and I asked myself, I'm like, maybe it's an expectation, that we have, that our advancement for promotion and pay should be proven by our work. You see what I'm doing, you see the quality of work that I'm giving you. why don't you just acknowledge it? Why do I need to ask for something? Why do I need to speak up? And so it's something that I've really struggled with. And I think we compare ourselves too, right? We're comparing ourselves to men. We compare ourselves to other women, you know, and then I think there's an age gap too, you know, as we get older in our careers, there's a newer generation of people that come in, and then you're dealing with that, you know. Hey, some of us are not all the only smart people in the room anymore. So
and they're not afraid.
But it's true.
I have a daughter in that generation or two, and they are not afraid to ask for what they want, which is great.
It is great. I think that generations are more probably emotionally in tune as well, you know, than how a lot of us grew up. So for me, what I've learned is I better advance my career when I know what I bring to the table, when I own it, execute consistently, and I speak up. You know, we have to be clear with our goals and our intentions so that people can help us advance. Everybody's busy, you know, and we can't just expect necessarily that, you know, it could happen if we've not communicated that it's important to us. So I think we have to speak up more.
Yes. Oh, great advice. I cannot thank you enough for giving us your time and sharing a little bit about you and your journey with all of us. So thank you again for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Jackie. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, women of the channel. That was another wow. And until next time, happy Wednesday.